everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of what? The Iconis, oh, wrong arm, the Iconis podcast. Yeah. For those listening, I got myself a hoodie done the other day with all the logos for Barry 3D, the Iconis podcast. You know, Guerrilla Comedy is another thing we had going on before, and our scanning code, so we can scan it when people see me live. So I'm all got this funky sweater on, and I'm very happy with it. So
he's all tatted up. He's all tatted up.
I look like I'm tatted up without the tattoos, right? Because I'm afraid of needles. So on that note, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Iconis podcast. This is, as I said, season 2, year 2. Back with vengeance. No, we weren't even gone by a bad situation. We just like saying stupidness. As you know, I'm one of your hosts, Barry 3D for Deep Dark Delicious. Like I like to say, hey, how you doing? On my side, the man, the myth, the legend, who doesn't stop rocking the turntables no matter the hour across the world, non-stop. This man could use a Red Bull along with, I don't know, lots of sleep. My man, my cousin, my best friend, our co-host, the one and only
DJ Rod C.
Rod C.
Yes. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another episode. We got something for you. But as always, before I start jumping in, you know what we got to do? Let's go through the proper quims and quos and things that we normally do.
That's right. We got to do our proper introductions, right? So first of all, thank you everyone for tuning in and being here for season 2 and letting this show grow. Thank you for joining our YouTube page. Thank you for downloading and streaming these episodes wherever you find them. So once again, remember, please like, subscribe, share on our YouTube page. Let's get those numbers up. 2, thank you for streaming and downloading from wherever you can get your podcast at. We really appreciate it. And 2, thank you for the comments. So I've been interacting with a person, their name there on their YouTube channel is Some Other Guy. Don't know who Some Other Guy is, but Some Other Guy has been making some great points, and we've been chatting back and forth. So a shout out to you, shout out to the fans, to the family, and all those members that help us keep this show going. Remember, there's other podcasts out there besides our own, so you don't have to be. You can be loyal to us and enjoy others.
There you go.
Right on. That being said, keep an eye out for Touch of Grey Comedy. We are doing shows live all over with my boys Thomas Patrice, Zolf Ali, and Dave Sokolowski. Along with myself, Barry 3D, Barry Carter. Look for Rod. Rod will let you know where you can find him soon enough. If you want to find all the stuff that I'm doing, very simple, barry3d.com. Can't go wrong. That's the website. That's where I'm at. Case closed. Booyah. And on that note, we got to give proper praise to the man who makes us look so pretty. The reason that my sweater, my hoodie looks so styling is because of all the work that's been done on it by the one and only
J Bird Digital Art.
J Bird Digital Arts.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go is right. So if you need any work done for templates, logos, be it if it's going to be digital or live, reach out to J Bird Digital Arts. Let Jason know that you heard about him, the Iconis podcast. And if you mention the Iconis podcast, he will give you a discount on the work. What? Can't go wrong with a discount. Give a shout out to Jay.
There you go.
Right on. This is how I got my funky sweater and everything that Jay's done. So as you see, the Iconis podcast logo here on my shirt, on my hoodie, Jay. Barry 3D logo, Jay. Right? My name here, Barry 3D with the popping on it, Jay. Right? Can't go wrong. And of course, I got to give shout outs to my man who did this originally, right? For the Guerrilla Comedy logo, which is still fire. My man, Augustus, also known as PBK, Pretty Boy Kev, my man, Kevin Malarbre. He listens to these shows. So me and him were talking some AEW just recently. Shout out to my homie. Yeah, that's right. He's also my old dance partner. If me and him get on the dance floor together and Rod's playing, it's danger.
Be problems, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I'll recover my broken back the day after, but watch it, man. King of the dance floor. You know, we tell you, man, we like Batman and Robin, or more like Batman and Nightwing on a dance floor with me and Kevin, man. Can't touch us. You think age slow us down? No, I just need Ben Gay in the morning to keep going. Right on.
There you go.
Rod, where can we find you?
Listen, you can find me on the World Wide Web. You can find me, let's see, on the World Instagram. You can find me at Mr. Rod C. Also find me in the world of Twitch. You can find me at twitch.tv/DJ Rod C. Listen, I'm out there listen, like 2-3 times a week. I'm playing. Listen, as of the day of this taping, I was just playing earlier today. I played yesterday. I gotta play tomorrow. Listen, playing a whole bunch of times throughout the week. So listen, you can find me on the Twitch. On the Twitch. I'm sounding like those old folks. You can find me on the Twitch. Find me on the Twitch. You can
on the Twitch.
Find me on the Twitch.
Twitch.
What you mean?
We don't mean the dancer Twitch. I mean, nothing wrong with that. We down with Twitch. Right on.
There you go. You can
that's
find
right.
me
He's Twitch the dancer. He used to be on Ellen, and he's also a DJ. Hey, you know what? Follow the course. Follow the course.
Go. Toe the line. Toe the line.
Toe the line. I hear you on that. Woo!
So let's go.
Yes. And that brings us today. Now, I know in the past we've been doing a lot of DC because we felt a little bit lacking on DC because season 1 we did a lot of Marvel. And of course, we don't want to kind of be biased one side or the other. So we must even the playing field. Today, the icon is Rom.
What did you say? Rom?
Rom. Okay. So let me get straight.
Rom? Rom? Not computer ROM?
Okay, no, not read-only memory ROM. We're talking about Rom The Space Knight by Marvel Comics.
Oh, Rom The Space Knight. Oh, nice. I've heard of him.
Right?
He is known.
Rom started off as a man of two worlds, and of course his story is a little bit more splintered than that, unfortunately. But we're talking about Rom today because Rom is an interesting character, and we'd like to bring you some of the unknown gems you might have missed. So let's get down to some of the basics. Rom, once again, not read-only memory, Rom the Space Knight. Now, Rom's origins.
Very unique.
Right? It went to a lot of different things. So let's say this. First of all, Rom started off as a toy first, a comic book second. Say what, Barry? That's right. See, unlike other ones like, I don't know, G.I. Joe, and I'm not going to start singing the theme song again because we know we'll never get past that on this episode from G.I. Joe the movie, but I'm tempted.
Stop.
Okay, no. Okay, so I'm going to show some self-restraint for once in my life. Cobra!
And there we go.
Fighting through the night. Okay, I'm good.
You're good? All
right. I'm good. We'll just hashtag the other episode. I'll sing it in my own private time. So unlike G.I. Joe being the only, not only, as I said, G.I. Joe started off as a toy, turned into a toy series. He-Man, the same thing, started off as a toy, turned into a toy series, along with Transformers, and there's other properties. But way before that, it started off with Rom the Space Knight. I'm not saying Rom the Space Knight was the first one. No, but as early memory, Rom started off as a toy, a 12-inch action figure, and it had different names that they were trying to go through at the time. So originally Rom's origin dealt with stuff like, first of all, they wanted to make him an Egyptian magician, and they didn't like that look. Then it was 3 guys that turned around and came up with a pattern for Rom. They would have the electronic lights and the talking and everything like that. And they changed him into a robot and said, okay, well, what names can we give him? And they said, look, back then in the 70s, you wanted to give him cool futuristic names because the whole space thing was going like rampant. Why? Star Wars. These are not the droids you're looking for. I know I just did the Vulcan Let's Live symbol and I did the whole Star Wars. I meshed 2 worlds together. I get what I'm doing. Okay. Don't worry about it. But once again, space, because Star Wars had that whole thing of bringing back the whole sci-fi genre from an uncheesy way to a more, oh my God, it's so cool. So everyone was jumping on the bandwagon. So that being said, the toy came out as a giant, it looked like a robot. It was a 12-inch figure. And with the figure, when they finally got it, it was made by Parker Brothers. So Parker Brothers is more known for board games, right? Yeah. If you're thinking like Monopoly and Sorry and all those things, like I'm not saying they made all of those, but that's their genre. And this was the first time they got into the toy market. And Rom was the only one they made, and they sold between like 200 to 300,000 of these units. So it was successful. but they never made any others. They never gave him a villain to fight as a toy you can buy at the time. They didn't make other, units. And then the names they had going before they even settled on ROM, they had they had Cobalt, which was a computer language,
Right.
and Fortran, and until they finally settled on ROM. Why? Because it sounded cool. It had nothing to do with what his function was. It's just like, does it sound good? Yeah.
Sold. Do it.
Sold.
Type it up quick. Let's go.
Yeah. So that's how ROM came about to be. And then when they did that, it just, said, okay, well, we got to find a way to advertise it. So Parker Brothers owned ROM, the toy, but they wanted to expand on the story. So they turned to our buddies over at Marvel Comics, the House of Ideas. Enough said. And said, can you do something? It's like, can you help me? And Marvel saying, wait a minute, how much money is involved probably in that deal? And said, heck yeah.
Come this way, my pretty. I have some plans for you, Mr. Bond.
Right?
Sorry.
And the people behind it. So once again, they went over to, the Marvel Comics, and in 1979, Marvel Comics published issue number 1 of Rom the Space Knight. So let's go. Parker Brothers owns Rom the toy. Rom the Space Knight and all its backstory was created by Marvel Comics.
Right.
Here we go. Today, why everyone, see, when too many people in there, everyone want their money, they can't come to agreement, things just don't work out. So it's the only toy that Parker Brothers made. They scrapped it. They went back to board games, even though it was somewhat, I would say, successful for the price point it was at the time when it was out. Marvel Comics said, hey, we can take this and imagine it. So they turned around to somebody. They were looking around at different people, and most people were like, man, we're too busy. We got deadlines to meet. I'm not going to be able to write the storyline. So one person who was working as an inker at Marvel at the time said, hey, I can do the story. I can do a story for a first issue and have a treatment ready when you need it by tomorrow. I'm on it. Then he sat down.
I'll be back.
Yeah. And then he sat down and went, oh no, what did I do? Because he wanted to get more into writing. So this person was Bill Metlow. So Bill, if you've probably heard me mention before, and we haven't got too deep into him at times, Bill is a person who was the writer behind Micronauts, right? Which is, and everyone's heard me mention it, that it's a huge thing for me, toy-wise, and even the comic books back then. So he was behind Micronauts. He was behind ROM. I'm like, oh, wow. And this was coming out, at the time, like Micronauts, Shogun Warriors, ROM, they were all in that world together.
Right.
So what they did was build the Space Knight aspect of it. So as I said, first issue came out in December of 1979, ran for 75 issues, had 4 annuals attached to that series in its original run. And then over time, it's changed hands, where it came back with IDW. They ran a comic and they kind of put it in the Hasbro universe, because at one point Hasbro bought Parker and got the rights for these characters. So they got the rights for ROM. They got the rights for Micronauts. They got the rights for Action Man. They got the rights for Transformers.
Right.
So this is why there was talks that Hasbro was going to turn around and do a Hasbro cinematic universe with the kickoff of the G.I. Joe movies. So we've had 2 G.I. Joe movies. I know we've had multiple Transformer movies, but their whole thing was to do a universe just like how Marvel and DC are doing their universes, and to bring in ROM and the Space Knights. But with ROM, as I said, a company owns the toy rights, and Marvel has the lore.
Oh, right. Very tight, very, very sticky. That's a very sticky situation.
That's a messy divorce right there.
I'm telling you right now.
Who did what? Who created what? That's a messy divorce, right? What, did the chicken, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Who made what more popular? Was the toy more popular than a comic book, or did the comic book make the toy more popular?
Listen, well, I can say definitely the toy, although the toy made the book popular, I will say it's more the book that made the toy popular.
Thank
The
you.
book is more because, like you said, the toy only they so Parker Brothers only did that one unit,
Yep.
that one entity
Yep.
type of scenario, and basically had no one to counter him, nothing along that line.
Nope.
Then as well, you start to see like, okay, they only did it for that certain amount of time, and then that's it. No more properties. We're not bringing anything else. But if this one can go, the comic book can go basically for 75 issues. Basically, Barry did say starting in 1979. It ended in February of 1986. So you're looking at 7 years of Rom, the Space Knight, being pushed. That lore has been created right there. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, but again, I decree and I declare, I have no proper pronunciations of what to say. I am not in that particular state of mind to say which is
Right.
there, but I will say what I can. But
I'll say it. You missed it. So, I mean, Rom turned around and he did team up with the X-Men at one point in his original stories, in his run. The X-Men did
right,
do a crossover with him. He's teamed up with the Fantastic Four. He's teamed
yeah,
up with various members of the Marvel universe over
hmm
time, be it
yep,
if he's fought them or teamed up with them. So he's in the lore, but because of how things were going, we're not going to get that back. So now this is what brought us to talk about Rom, because we think that was so cool. Like Rom the Space Knight sounds cool. Now, why did this book reach out more to me than the toy? Well, let's put it this way. When I went to my parents and said, Mom, Dad, I want a Rom toy. They went, really? Okay. And I looked at the price and then I thought about it. There's nothing else. If I bought the G.I. Joe 12-inch line, I can get good guys. I can get accessories. I can get all this other stuff. Right? I can get play sets. I'm all, okay, cool. I know what interacts within that world. If I got the Bionic Man 12-inch doll, once again, villains, accessories, other people within that world that I can add on to those things with action figures and that. So Rom,
it's just Rom.
It's just Rom.
It's only read only memory,
right?
read only
And
memory, read only
I
one
read
man.
it. I rather read the comic to say, oh, this is how you interact, than to say, well, I've got the toy, but there's no one else from his universe that I could. There's not other Space Knights. There's not other villains that, like, He-Man had Skeletor. G.I. Joe's got Cobra. The original G.I. Joe had to fight different things with the action team. Okay, or he had cool accessories. All right, then Big Jim had good guys and bad guys he had to fight with accessories. Micronauts, come on, Baron Kaza. So this is where they messed up. They started off the toy line great, and then they just didn't expand it. I don't know if they didn't believe in it, what was their overall premise, but this is what they ended up missing on. Okay, so now we're going to get back to the comic book. So I said, issue number 1 of the comic book, Frank Miller did the outside art of the cover, but the inside art was done by Sal Buscemi.
Oh, sorry.
Right. Buscemi. Okay, or Buscema. Forgive me my pronunciation. We all know after 2 years in the show, I suck at names. But it was Sal who did it. Bill was writing it. 75 issues. And when I say they expanded on this whole thing about Rom the Space Knight, I like that because I was into like Dungeons and Dragons and still am. Medieval, Excalibur. So right there, Rom, okay, read only memory. Got it. And then Space Knight. Oh, Space Knights. Okay, that sounds cool. It sounds honorable. And then even rereading these books back, he did have the qualities of a knight. Like they really made him that way. So his origin was he was on a planet called Galador. 200 years in the past. Right? And on Galador, they were a peaceful planet. They started getting invaded. They realized they had to do something to defend themselves from this race called the Diraths. So the Diraths used a lot of magic. They were supposed to be evil, and they were shape changers. They almost looked like demons, but they were shape changers. And they were coming in there with their ways. So where Galador had science, they had magic. They would go in there, suck out people's essence and souls, shape change into that person, and then integrate that way. They're like a parasitic life
entity,
force.
Life force entity,
race, a parasitic race. So they had to find the defenders on that.
Infiltrators. That's all it is. They were basically more like infiltrators.
That's right. Get in there and destroy and take over. So now the Prime One, who was the leader of Galador, right? King of the world, goes by the Prime One, said, hey, we need to find some people to turn around and help us defend our way of life from these die rafts with our science. What can we do? And they came up with different weapons they can use. So they had one which is an analyzer and a neutralizer that wouldn't kill them per se. It would send them into limbo. It would send, and it only affect their life species. So if it was, if you use the analyzer, it wouldn't be danger to anyone else except for them. Okay, cool. Then turned around and said, well, we need people. We're not going to draft people. We want people to volunteer. So Rom, on his planet Galador, and on Galador, they were humanoid. They all looked like humans, normal people. Rom volunteered. And he went into this, said, okay. And what they did is they made him a cyborg. So they put part of his living organs inside this robotic body shell with, was it platydanium or, which was a metal on their planet, which is supposed to be up there with vibranium and adamantium, that strong, cased in it. So it have his brain, part of his skull. And then for the rest of his remains, they wouldn't discard them. They took those and put them in kind of suspended animation. So when you finish your term as a space knight and you come back, they can take out your body from the knight armor and reassemble it with your human self. And then you go on as your human self. So, for example, all you needed, is pretty much, well, we'll transplant his brain. We'll transplant a couple of things in there to kind of give him some motor function so they don't feel too alienated. It was almost like RoboCop.
The facts. It's exactly one of the impressions that came to me, reading through this comics and everything like that. You did get that RoboCop type of feel.
Right.
And it was, now you're trying to think who came first, the chicken or the egg. I believe this is definitely before RoboCop. So
This was before RoboCop.
But you can clearly see that, you can see the similarities to give everybody an idea.
Absolutely. And keep in mind the key word I said, right? Who did the cover art in 1979? Frank Miller. Who was the writer behind RoboCop? Frank Miller. He helped develop the idea of RoboCop. And if you watch number 2 or 3, even though they've not been like big successes, his script was the idea behind it. They ended up changing it to what he didn't want it to be, but he was the writer. So,
Interesting.
Riddle me this. Right? So we go through with Rom the Space Knight. And when I said you realize it, he wasn't, and he was known as the greatest Space Knight because he sacrificed the most. And when I say 200 years in the past, here it goes. He starts off as the first one to volunteer to become the very first Space Knight on Galador in a different galaxy far, far, far away.
Pick me.
Right? So he was the first Space Knight. And then they made other people volunteered after him to become Space Knights. And with it, you had him in his case in his full armor, which was all in silver.
Come on, everybody.
He had an analyzer, a neutralizer, a translator. On his back, it was a rocket pack. So he had increased strength. He didn't, the robot had like light up eyes and little things that would light up. And that's how they kind of portrayed that too, that he had a visor with 2 red eyes that would kind of just light up, right? Like sparks. Then those were his eyes. You would hear him breathing. The robot would have a breathing thing, like almost like Darth Vader. That. Okay. So, but he didn't need food. He didn't need to sleep. He was just constantly going. He wasn't held down by those things. He was like their version of super soldier.
Right.
Okay. Then he goes and helps with the rest of the Space Knights. He leads them. So he's not a person. He's not a military person. He's just a normal person in there. I believe it was a scientist, but he was not a warlike person looking for a fight. He was not like up on red meat and wanted to beat up everybody. He was a laid back person like Norrin Rad, the Silver Surfer, and says, hey, I got to do what I got to do to defend my way of life. Right. Pick me. Left. So he defended it, led the Space Knights, defended Galador, pushed them all the way back to their home planet. And just when everyone was saying, hey, we're good, we can stop here, he's like, no, they've conquered 4 other worlds or galaxies, around before. We got to make sure the buck stops here. And he took the fight back to the home world, like single-handedly. And he started taking them down single-handedly teleporting them all over to Limbo. So they wanted to, be a menace to anybody else going forward. Now they realized that he was on a quest. The Diraths turned around and said, we got to go. They abandoned ship. They left their planet and they spread out all through the universe. So his plan backfired. He thought they would stay there and just fight him one-on-one until he dealt with them all, not realizing they would do the better part of valor and say, look, we got to cut out and we'll deal with him later on. That's what they did. They all went out to different parts of the universe. So that being said, they're scattered. And he felt guilty. He felt remorse because what he intended to do was stop them. But because of his actions, he caused it to spread. So when they're saying, well, Galador is safe, you can come back, he was like, no, I've unleashed this evil on the rest of the universe. I am not going to stop until they are all taken care of. Rom the Space Knight out. And that's how he takes off. And he starts chasing them all through the galaxy. So where issue number 1 takes place in 1979 is you see this meteorite coming to Earth and it crash lands. And I can't remember where he crash landed. It was like some little city. Yeah, it's a known city, but it was like downtown New York or something like that.
Yeah. I'll get it. Keep going.
No problem.
I literally just saw it.
Right. So he crash lands. He gets there. He comes out of this fiery rock. And that was in that first page of page 1 of that comic book. You see in 3 panels, okay, meteor comes down, crash lands in the middle of the road. Then it shows a hand coming up. And then you see him coming out, splitting this like rock in 2 or moving around the rebel in 2. And he's part on flame. And he's just looking around. And then the next page is a car coming up with a girl named Brandy. And she's like, sees him, goes, oh my gosh, swerves. And she almost goes off the road, off this mountain road. And he's looking at her and he thought, it's like, wait a minute, won't she save herself? Oh, wait a minute. She can't save herself. So he grabs the back of her car with 2 hands and puts it back on the road, pulls out his analyzer, which she doesn't know. He pulls the trigger. It's all red. She's like, oh my gosh, alien, death ray. I'm going to die. Nothing happens. He flies off.
Well, nope,
not you. You are not the person I'm looking for. Exactly. And flies off, lands like in the downtown core of that city, lands a whole bunch of people, and people are like, oh my gosh, he's trying to kill us. And then like there's 2 of them like, uh-oh, you know who that is. There's no place to run. There's no place to hide. Then he pulls out another weapon from the pocket dimension. So his weapons would appear in his hand or go back in his pocket dimension. So he would pull out, the analyzer. Okay. Pulls out the nullifier. Got it. Boom, boom. 2 shots. Kills off these 2 people. Now, to everyone watching, it's, oh my gosh, he's killed off these 2 people that we've known for years in this town.
Right.
Him, he knows are Diraths. Us, as puny humans, Earthlings, humans, we have no idea what's all we see as a human from our perspective is a robot just showed up, landed in the middle of town, pulled the trigger, kind of with a ray. We all got bathed in a red ray. Then another ray comes out, shoots 2, and all that's left is a pile of ashes in a humanoid shape. Because every time he sends them to Limbo, this is what they leave behind. And of course, what do you think that causes?
Mass panic.
Mass panic, pandemonium, people running everywhere, running. Because of course, you don't know who's next. Dun 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 dun. Now he's peaceful, but we don't know that.
Right.
See, this is where he gets into it. And of course, Brandy does show up because she follows him into town and sees him. And then he kind of analyzes her again, and he picks up the English language, and he starts talking like very broken robotic because he's kind of still absorbing the language. And she's like, you can speak English? He's like, yeah, I just, I had to do what I had to do.
Right.
And she's like, well, you just killed off 2 people I've known for years since elementary school. He's like, no, they weren't people. They were aliens. She's like, how can I trust you? She's like, I went to school with these people. I know those 2 people you just killed. They weren't people. They were aliens.
As part of my protocol, they're aliens. What? They're aliens. They're
yes. Of course, alien shows up, kills off 2 people. What do you think happens? Well, send in the charge of the Light Brigade. The army shows up and they start attacking Rom. Now, rightfully so, he didn't come in peace. He came to put people in pieces.
Facts.
Right? And the army shows up and they start attacking them. And, of course, flamethrowers, of course, bullets. A tank throws is shooting cannon shells at him. He's just shrugging it all off and throwing a tank around. So clearly he's got enough power to pick up a tank. He came from outer space, crash landed on Earth, so to speak, or how we see it. He came in really aggressively. So bullets and flamethrowers ain't gonna do nothing to his shell. The inside technology is not gonna rattle the human technology. It is a protective shell. As I said, it's up there with par with adamantium and vibranium. So, if Wolverine shows up and tries to claw him, like Wolverine says, Claw City, he ain't going to do nothing. He's just going to make sparks. Good. But it was that misconception. So that was what his first story arc was. And then he starts talking to Brandy. And then the rest of the issue breaks down to the origin of Rom prior to being a Space Knight and kind of giving a backstory of the die rasp and all that. Because as a fan, you just read issue 1. He crash landed, scanned, turned around, went downtown, scanned more people, shot 2 people, fought the army. That was it. We didn't know what his motivation was. All we know is he's a Space Knight. So we know that one, he's got his own book and he's a Space Knight. So he can't not be evil. He's a knight. He didn't say evil.
From our side. Exactly. From our side, our perspective. Yes.
Yeah. We get to learn that. And he goes through his whole thing. So, at times there's misunderstandings where he thinks some mutant is, a Dirath and or vice versa. And this is where the X-Men come into a 2-issue story arc crossover. Right. So it is what it is. It was a lot of fun. So, and what I said, they really kind of thought more about the character being a knight. This is what I enjoy. It's if you look up the qualities of being a knight. Now, I think it was Ethan Hawke that said his aunt or one of his relatives passed away, and they had this old document in the house where it dealt with what should be a knight written by a certain person. Now I'm not sure how true that is, but it gave the 20 steps, the 20 parts of what it is to be a medieval knight, to be a knight, what it really was going with. As I said, 20 rules for a knight, a timeless guide from 1483, right? And it was written by Sir Thomas Limmel Hawke of Cornwall. So Ethan Hawke's great relative. Okay, we'll go with that. Ethan Hawke, yes, the actor I'm talking about. Right. So this book will say, okay, the 20 rules for being a knight. So 1, solitude. You got to have time to kind of think about yourself, reflect on your actions before you know what you're going there. You don't go into a situation rash. All right, he's been around 200 years in space going by himself. Yeah, he hits the solitude. Humanity. Right. Well, it's Rom the Space Knight. He's a cyborg. He's not a robot, So clearly he has human aspects inside of him. He's got his human brain. He's not a machine like the 108, Cyberdyne system Terminator. Right. So got that check. Gratitude. Well, he's grateful for life because he's trying to defend it from evil. So he's not going in there shooting everybody without reason. He's only going after the Diraths and the Diraths only. And he will only kind of fight others to defend himself, not to cause injury. That was always his thing.
Probable cause. Basically, he's going with probable cause. There's only reason why I'm actually shooting or approaching anybody is because I'm trying to find the Dirath. That's it. I'm an innocent bystander. That's all I'm doing. Right?
You're minding my own business, son. Minding my own business.
Mind your business.
Mind your business. Right? Pride. He has no. He's not conceited about it. He just says, "I'm a knight," but he's not kind of rubbing it in people's face, thinking that he's better than them. He's on the same level with them. So, that's the thing. Cooperation. Right? He walks his own path. He's willing to work with others and have others work with him for a common goal. Friendship, yeah, he's very laid back. So these are good qualities, that he will turn around and he shows as a Space Knight. He saved Brandy. He develops a good friendship with Brandy over the course of his run in the 75 issues. Him and Brandy start off as, she sees him, but by issue 75, well, they fall in love and he gets back his humanity at the very end. Galador is totally destroyed. he comes in there. He has to battle because at one point there was another space knight that took his other human remains, got duplicate armor, and called himself Rom, and he took over Galador. And people thought, oh, this guy is Rom, and it was like, no, it was like his evil version of himself, right? Every hero's got to have an evil version. Like Superman has Bizarro, Spider-Man got Venom,
right? Ram. On my head is just going with Ram, like Rom and Ram. I'm just trying to know what Ram stands for. It's like data and lore, but we won't get into that.
Right, Kit and Car. Okay, so so they gave him his evil version of himself, and this evil version took over as the Prime One on Galador as the leader. And Rom had to fight him, get past that. That's later on issues. He had to get back his human remains from this guy's body, because a guy took Rom's remains to kind of have his DNA. So, then they found out who it really was. So he was a disgraced knight. He had to deal with that. So at the end of Rom's run, they gave him the happy ending in issue 75 that he gets there, he proves who he is. He's gone through a lot of anguish. And, Brandy's now left Earth and is on Galador with him. She's fallen in love with this knight. But, of course, he's a machine at this point on the outside. But he gets his humanity back. His body becomes whole again after 200 years. Him and Brandy, he gets back his body. So Rom stops being a space knight, becomes the Prime One again. Or sorry, the true Prime One or the next Prime One. Yeah. And his goal is to rebuild Galador. Mm-hmm. And there is a miniseries that covers what happens after that. And we'll touch on that for a second. Brandy and him pretty much become husband and wife.
Right.
In all sense of the word, he's now a man again. And the rest of the Space Knights said, hey, we'll let you rebuild Galador. And we're going to go into space to make sure that Galador stays safe. We're going to take up for you, Rom, until it's safe. And we will come back and get back our humanity. Our reward is that finally the greatest knight is returned back. He's like the Lancelot of them.
Right.
So there's where I got a little bit with friendship. The other one is forgiveness. He does forgive a lot, where the other person took his humanity, like took his human remains, took over Galador. He does forgive that person for doing it. He was angry at one point, but he did forgive the actions. He forgave the actions of those that really wronged him. So he really was there. Honesty. He was honest. He never tried to deceive anybody. So that pretty much stays for itself. Courage, come on, he left his home planet for 200 years to hunt these people down by himself without no help. Yeah, that's courage. He does display grace. He does have patience. Once again, he left home for 200 years. Okay, can you leave home for 200 years and not go back? Justice. Well, that explains it.
There you go.
Generosity. Discipline. Yeah, he was disciplined. He never gave up on being a space knight to right the wrong in his mind that he caused. Dedication. Did I mention he left this planet for 200 years by himself, going around the universe to wipe out this enemy? That's dedication. Mm-hmm. Speech, right? Faith, equality, love. Well, we touched about that with him and Brandy before. That definitely started a love there. And death. So, as I said here with death, their definition of it for being a knight is life is a long series of farewells. Only the circumstances should surprise us. Mm-hmm. A knight concerns himself with gratitude for the life he has been given. He does not fear death, for the work one knight brings, all others may finish. So he understands that when he started off this journey as a space knight, he could die in the line of duty. But he knows the other ones would pick up where he left off to make sure they would finish his quest.
Right.
Okay. At the end of his run, he accomplished what he needed to do to a good degree. Got back to Galador. They gave him back his humanity. And then the Space Knight said, hey, your new quest is to rebuild this planet. You are the Prime One. We will be in space defending you, to finish off the work you finished, but your new job is to rebuild our planet.
Are you up to it? Are you up to it?
He does have the main 20 points of being a knight. Mm-hmm. In space, but being a knight.
Space Knight.
Right? Come on. So, as I said, as a reading suggestion, if I had to say it, if you have to read anything, you got to read the original Rom the Space Knight. right? I mean, that there goes really well. And those last couple of issues, the artist was Steve Ditko. So Steve Ditko, we did talk about him when we mentioned Hawk and Dove. We did talk about him when we did a couple of weeks ago, Shade the Changing Man. He was a creator. Steve Ditko drew the last couple of issues of Rom the Space Knight. And he also worked on Micronauts at one point. So, and this is me just assuming, it seemed that him and Bill Matlow seem to get along pretty well because they've worked on their projects together at times over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Rom to me was the Space Knight. So is this a character that we can see today? I would love to. I would absolutely love to. What's your thoughts, Rod?
Listen, this character is very I'm trying to think. There are not that many characters in the Marvel universe that have that type of quality of a knight. You know what I mean? You have a couple, whatever case, and everybody has their, their pros and cons and faults and stuff along that line. Creating this character straight from the get-go with that type of honor, having the mindset and the what is the proper one I'm trying to think of, the stature of being someone who's
Right.
like saying, I made a mistake. Let's start with that. So we all, everything all stems back. This whole issue, this whole run, these 75 issues, all stem from him believing that he could do the best quality is trying to defeat the Darites and put them, and have them thinking that they will stay on their own planet. And like you said, he made the mistake of underestimating them and thinking that they would stay, and they left. So he made that mistake, and he realized, ooh, I messed up. My bad. And to be a proper individual, he realizing this is all because of me. I'm just gonna have to. I hope it won't take this long, but I'm gonna go and just try to correct the wrong I made. So we'll start with that. That's how I look at it. That this guy basically has that kind of quality that you don't see. And you can clearly show that because of all the runs, all the interactions with him now being part of the Marvel Universe, interaction with the Thing, having action with the Hulk, having interaction with the X-Men, Fantastic Four, all, I saw Power Man, Luke Cage and Power Man. So it just shows that they had him all over in different aspects. And you can clearly see you're having good conversations with Thing, because although Ben may look like he's all mean, that's a big teddy bear. He's a good guy type of scenario. Having a conversation with Iron Fist, who's another honorable person as well, but you can see that you can parlay that writing, that script, that particular episode could definitely have been a very enlightening, wherein these ones are helping each other in their own type of dialect and how the conversation is going at that end. So for me, I like this character. I will admit, growing up, I saw Rom. Seen a couple of episodes, read a couple of issues. But it was like, this is interesting. But because I realized there was definitely a lot more, you could tell that if you came in halfway or third in, you're going to miss out on what's the real backstory. Because by that time, you're not going to know the story. You'll hear about the Dirath and everything like that. Okay, he's searching, he's going after this. What's the reason why? So I will admit, growing up, I did not follow him only because I did read it a couple of times, but it was interesting. But it was one of those things like, if you didn't know the lore of it from back then, you would have to you have to do some catching up. Thank God for online, online reading and stuff like that. So I have the ability now to catch up. I'm like,
yes,
I'm filling gaps here with that. So I will say definitely the Space Knight, the writing was on point in the sense of showing this is the tunnel, this is the characteristics of a knight. Okay, so he flies around. Cool, he's out in space Knight, and that's all it is. we will keep him in this boundary and this type of I'm trying to remember who is the character. It's on DC. The the forever, the knight, the other knight. Oh my goodness. Anyways, well, we won't get, that's on DC. Maybe we'll talk about him another day.
Okay.
but it'll come to me afterwards. But again, qualities of a knighthood, and you're basically saying like, okay, the person is gonna do no wrong, do the honorable thing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Good with
Oh,
that.
are you talking about the Shining Knight?
Thank you.
Shining Knight. There we go. Okay.
Yes,
All-Star
like
Squadron. Yeah.
Right. So it was like night, but I'm like, there's a word before the night, like Space Knight. No, we got another word. Right.
Because it can't just be a night; it's got to be Shining Knight. But yeah, I hear you with all of that, and I agree with that, right? And I think that they really portrayed it well. And the off was the toy only lasted so long, with the mythos that they created went on for years up to now. And as I said, Hasbro came back. So as I said, key things to go back to look at your comic book store for is one, get the original Space Knight run. When I say Space Knight run, sorry, Rom the Space Knight. The original run that we're talking about, those first 75 issues of 4 back issues. And as we always tell you, go back to your comic book stores. For us, it's either WoW Comics or Check Swings in Montreal, one of the respective, wherever you're at, or find your nearest book store within your area. Support the books so it keeps everything going.
Facts.
That's for sure. We're not wrapping up the show yet because we haven't done our fan casting yet. We still got all that to go through. So I think, yes, he hit the whole thing with a Space Knight. I understand the qualities of a knight. I did see it portrayed in this character, as best as it could be for the 80s, the late 70s, early 80s.
Right.
He was a knight literally in shining armor. Space Knights, he was silver. His whole top to bottom was silver. And the city, and I was looking for that. The city,
Clairton.
That's right, Clairton, which is a small West Virginia city, population 14,000.
Yeah. It's a fictional one. But they had at least in Virginia, so at least I know Virginia. How about that wonderful little city? I don't know about that city.
Well, let's put away, man. 14,000 people. Let's put away. Marvel usually kind of makes always real places. So 14,000 population. That's a city that will see aliens.
Just saying.
I do a joke on stage about seeing aliens, and aliens don't show up in the big cities. Aliens always show up in a small town. 14,000. Yeah, he's primed to see aliens. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know how the army got there so quick, but they saw aliens.
Well, you know what? If you go back, I was checking it up and I was confirming actually because there were other race on the other right, Darites that were part of that part of the organization. Because even Rom was saying, I can't figure out how can these guys find me so fast?
Right.
And basically, they were in a sense tricking the government, the military, to attack Rom.
Yes.
That was it. So, but realize they even said like, yeah, we know they won't be able to penetrate his skin and do any harm. We may have to interject and help out type of scenario.
Right.
But at least that kind of answers that. So it's just showing that Rom was, his tracker. Let's go over to the west side. Let's go over to the east side of the United States. No, West Virginia. We're focusing on here. There's a good plethora of rats over here.
For some reason, once again, it goes to aliens landing in a small city. Once again, if you see me do some of my jokes on stage about where to find aliens, it makes sense.
Just saying.
It makes sense. So here, now it brings us, so as I said, you got to get the original run, but then other keynote runs, I would say. So the original run, Space Knight, issues, this first 75 issues. Of course, got to start off the ground floor. Then there was a 6-issue miniseries just called Space Knights, which I think was a cool read. Now, due to legal reasons, they couldn't say Rom the Space Knight, but they still mentioned the character in there because he's still the prime one. He's still married to Brandy, and he has a kid, and his kid takes up the armor and goes by the name Liberator, and has armor very close looking to the original ROM one, just a little bit modernized with other Space Knights, and gets in there defending. But his dad doesn't put on the Space Knight armor again, or I think he does, but his dad doesn't do it. But his son, who's the prince, does. But it's called Space Knights because I said they couldn't say ROM the Space Knight. As I said, just due to legal reasons of who owned the name and where the mythos. So Marvel was able to do it because they own the mythos. They just couldn't come out straight out and say ROM. They just had to say Prime One. But if you're a fan of the original series, you know. Right? And if you didn't know, now you know. And then IDW turned around and did their run where they're trying to do a whole Hasbro run. But those were the key ones that really stood out to me. And then there was a 3-issue miniseries by IDW called Die Wraths, which kind of wraps up the story kind of nice. And it gives you a little bit more lore. So I think those are the 3 key ones you got to go. Obviously, read the first 12 issues. Check out Space Knights. Of course, read a couple of, the first annual, the last. So I would say read the first 12 issues. You can always get the appearances when he crosses over to other people. Mm-hmm. Read the last 10 issues-ish. That will give you some good stuff to see how it kind of changed. Then into the 6-issue miniseries, Space Knights. Then follow it up with Die Wraths. You don't really need to read all the DW stuff. I mean, it's cool to see how they interact with Mask, G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Micronauts, and seeing how that technology is kind of shared and used. But the Die Wrath one really kind of makes the staple for me. So that being said, brings us to the time, Rod. Fan casting. When it comes to fan casting, let's get into a couple aspects before we dive right into it. 1, Rod, how would you see this property? Would you want to see this as a series, a movie, a cartoon? What's your thoughts?
I definitely want to I want to keep it as a cartoon. I want to put it, not keep it like it never really originally was, but I want to put it as a cartoon, and then give us the ability to span out, seeing that there's so many different. It's not like saying we only had Rom the Space Knight, only the 1979 issue. We're talking 2016. Like you said, there's so many different narrative on that. I would rather have that being a cartoon, which gives them the liberty to just kind of like do just like a comic. You have what, the 22 pages. You have enough to do enough issues.
Yeah.
I mean, do a show within that parameters, and that it'll continue growing, and it'll still reflect the stuff from the previous episode, whatever case it be.
Okay.
But I will go with a cartoon, because a series would be good, even if you had an animated like a cartoon series. It's similar in the same sense, but at least a series, in my mind, we're still having that type of limitations to a certain degree.
Yes.
So I would prefer just now, let's put it in the lane of a cartoon and let it go from there. Now it has more of that freedom that it can organically grow. It can move easily, slash as well. Any and all, I'm sure, of the actions and the sequences you're gonna expect to see is gonna be better portrayed being in a drawn form versus being in a real life form.
Right.
So that will pull away from a movie. That will pull away from a series or a live series. I will pull away from that and give it more of the, then it'd be drawn, let it be drawn however way, CGI, 3D, what, cartoon, however we're going to get it. But I'd rather have it in that particular contents.
Yeah.
Is where I would go. I would go with a cartoon, at least going from that aspect, and give it to me like that.
Okay. I agree with you. And you know what? There's no buts with that. I agree with you 100%. Because my thought about it too was, I looked at all those avenues and I said, yes, definitely a cartoon series, because the cartoon series, one, you're not going to be constricted with a budget because of special effects. It's easier to draw an explosion than to CGI an explosion. It's cheaper. Then it also gives you a lot more time to get into the lore of the character, because you're going to deal with Rom the Space Knight, the rest of the Space Knights. You can even go as far as including when things wrap up and do a follow-up series with his son taking over, being the new Space Knight. And you can kind of keep that going good for a few good seasons and be interesting, not like fluff episodes, like really interesting, well-written episodes. So
you got enough source material. You got enough source material to build up.
Noodles.
You know how we say those words, those particular two words together. Source material indeed.
So this is where it comes down to. So now we got it. So we're both on the same page of cartoon series on this one. Okay. And as a fans, please let us know if you agree or not. We'd love to hear back from you. Here's my question for you. Who is your voice for Rom the Space Knight?
Listen, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna say a name. I'm dead sure. I know we've mentioned this particular individual
Okay.
other times and other things. So this guy, he's not like he's already known to the cartoon voiceover world.
Okay.
Simply put, I'm just gonna go straight. I'm gonna go with the man, the legend, the man they call Mr. Phil Lemmer. Phil Lemmer. Now, here's the reason why. Here's the reason why. Like, I'm not saying that anybody else couldn't do what what can be done. I mean, again, this is voiceover, so you don't really need that face type of scenario. So we can, in my mind, I'm going cartoons. Now, here's the reason why I wanted to go with Phil.
All right.
I wanted to go with Phil. I'm going to go with Phil for, he has two characters we know that he already does. If he can, I can't immediately think of a character that he currently has that has a combination, but if someone can combine these two characters into one, it would be Phil. He does the voice for Jon Stewart.
Green Lantern, Justice League, yes.
He does the voice for Samurai Jack.
That's right.
So, we're now talking about a Space Knight. We're going from the aspect of, okay, we're going like military, taking orders and, handling his business, going strategically, knowing how to take command. He's the first one. He's coming in, and especially at the end when he basically saying like, okay, guess what? We're going to call you now. We want you to stay and become the prime director. What? Yeah, we want you to lead and take that. You got to have that military mind. The Jon Stewart aspect. Then if we're going to go with the Space Knight, as you're running down the qualities of a knight, Samurai Jack. What more honorable man is Samurai Jack? I'm just saying, who is more honorable than Samurai Jack? So, to find a combination, well, Jon Stewart as well. So, to put someone together, we'll just have a voice. And at this point, we can give Phil the carte blanche of, listen, we don't need someone who's African, descendant for Jon Stewart. We don't need anybody to have the dialect and the tone of, Japanese for a samurai.
Yeah.
We don't know what the dialect is.
Yes, that was my point. Okay.
So he can just go, this is now, you can do whatever I want. Listen, all I'm going to say is I'm going to put a mic in front of you, stay in the booth, kick it, have fun. We'll bring you water. You want to have 2 hours? Do a Robin Williams and just go crazy. And then why I'm saying that, because I just saw, side note, rest in peace, just saw a little clip of him going off having fun with Good Morning Vietnam.
Yeah.
How when he was doing the radio part of it, they just like, yeah, you don't understand. 3/4 of what we heard is all ad lib. Robin just went in, and that's how he does. Same with Genie and stuff like that. So we'll just give Phil and said, Phil, listen, what do you want? We're going to Subways. You want something to eat? We'll get you something to eat. Sit back and relax. Enjoy yourself. You want water? We'll somebody get this amount of water, please, and just hit record. We'll see you back in 2 hours. And let Phil just go and have his way. He has the parameters of who he already knows. He's like, oh, I got a free, well, of course not a free lunch, because, I'm sure it'd be much better than the Subway. Sorry, Phil, I didn't mean any disrespect. It was the only thing that came to my head. You'll have something proper, of course, of that particular time. I do believe you, Mr. Phil. You would have some proper food, some proper nourishment. Ooh. But this is what I would go. So I would throw it into the Phil Lamar world and let him add this as another notch in his belt.
Right.
For voiceovers.
Mm-hmm.
If we did that, Lord of mercy. That's all I'm gonna say. If this man had that, give the man 2 hours in the booth, and then give him a week where he can just where the producer's like, I like this one, I like that one, I like this one.
Wow.
Holy Toledo Batman.
Holy Toledo Batman is right. Okay. All right. You came in with some hotness. Sorry, cuz I had to do it. Wow. I thought we was family. You came out swinging, yo. But as you know, I'm down, but never out.
All right. Let's see what you got, son.
So I agree with you with the cartoon. I agree with you with the direction you're going with, and I see that. So the actor that I wanted, that I can see playing him, and when I say playing him, I mean him in all ways. So I'm talking from cartoon to live action. It's the same guy. Now, here's my thought. I got an actor that can do his voice, and as I said, in an animated show. Granted. And also, if Marvel wanted to do a cameo to test him on screen in any kind of their Marvel movies coming forward, by and just have him in a cut scene and have him one sentence, just to see how he goes to the audience, and if we can get something bigger out of him to his own project, the same actor could still do him live. Right? This is that's my thing. I'm looking for double duty connectivity, not one for one and one for the other. It's one for all. It's like the Three Musketeers. So I went back, and now this actor is for the past couple of years, he just got on the map and he blew up. He's easy on the eyes. The voice is smooth. He can portray pain. He can portray humor. He can portray intelligence and quirkiness. He is playing a knight. He's playing a paladin in an upcoming project too. Right? Yeah. He's already done the medieval stuff as a romantic lead. He's going to be a knight in the new Dungeons and Dragons live action movie with Chris Pine. Okay? I'm talking Reggie Jean Page. You don't know who it is? Think Bridgerton. The light-skinned brother from Bridgerton that played Simon. The main love interest, who women lost it. Right? Don't change his voice. Let him talk in his normal dialect, right? Because once again, we don't know how they talk. And of course, Space Knight, when you think knight, you think someone from the UK. That's where knights, samurai started in Japan. Knights started over in the UK. What did they got? A British accent. Oh, that's what my boy got.
Got it. Okay.
Right? He's playing a paladin in the Dungeons and Dragons movie. He was in Bridgerton. He was so popular as a character that they want to find ways to bring him back for season 2 of Bridgerton, but his character was not even in the book in season 2. But that's how much people really liked him.
Right.
They debated on him in other roles, and if you see him in interviews and everything like that. So he's a young guy. Once again, I know the original Rom was white, but let's be in a world we are in today, and it's not trying to, put forth a certain media. I understand that, and I believe in staying origins with the origins are right at times, but sometimes you can have a little bit of a tweak here and there. I mean, look, Namor is coming out to be of Mexican descent in the new Black Panther Wakanda movie.
Right.
Okay, cool. All for it. Okay. Right? I'm good with if he would have went that way. They would have went more of an Asian way. That the actor fits it, the actor fits it. I understand that, and they get the heritage behind it. So this actor who was Simon in Bridgerton, his voice does portray well. If you close your eyes, you don't need to see him act to portray the emotion, which would be being a knight as Rom. And of course, now that he's trained and done all these hours as a paladin, which if you play Dungeons and Dragons, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know Dungeons and Dragons, a paladin is a knight. It's a division of being a knight. So you have a fighter, you have knights, you have paladins. Paladin is a holy warrior. Oh, what did I just say? So he portrays being a knight. So even if you turn around and said, well, we want to bring him live action to do a guest role in, I don't know, Guardians of the Galaxy movie, or a crossover with an Avengers movie in the future, or a Fantastic Four movie, just to have him kind of show up in the background and say one thing to say people go, oh man, can you picture the fanfare it would be to know in the credits, because fans are hardcore these days, to know that, hey, that's the same actor from this who has all this heat behind his name, did the voice of Rom, and they put him on the live action. So he's Rom. So when we do get sequences of him out of his armor, be it if it's a flashback or they wrap up his story and he finally gets back his humanity, it's this guy you're seeing?
Yep. Okay.
Women would swoon and men would want to figure out how to be him.
Okay.
I like how he carries himself in Bridgerton. And as I said,
Don't.
yeah. And did I watch Bridgerton? Yes, I did. I watched it with my wife. So I watched Bridgerton, and and I'm looking forward to see him in Dungeons and Dragons. I saw the pictures off the set. So this is who I'm going with, man. That's the guy there, Roger Jean Page. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a shame that you got to cover this brother up, but it's okay. His looks might distract from being Rom, but you'll understand the voice. You put him in the costume, and clearly he's willing to work to do the physicality of a role. I mean, he went and learned swordplay for the Dungeon and Dragon movie for his character, and had to wear X amount of pounds of armor, and he did not complain. He did it with a smile. That's right.
Okay.
So that's what I was going to say.
You know what?
Cartoon.
The cartoon, yeah. I mean, as a cartoon, it's good. I was just before you jump to the cartoon. Let's back on the live aspect of it. You know what? Listen, I can definitely say that it can work because they don't do that much back history like flashbacks in the comic books.
No, they don't.
So if you want to utilize the face and use his face in that regard, yeah, I can see you can utilize it now. Just open up that aspect a little bit more. You can utilize it there. So I'm like, okay, I don't know. I see.
Of course, because the whole fact of, him as, you see him in flashbacks, you see his face when it's in that 6-issue miniseries Space Knights, because he's still human, right? And I would even go as far as the Marvel Animation division. I know they have their own division for Marvel, right? But here's the style I'm looking for. I want to see, if you remember Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, that cartoon series that ran for 2 seasons, right? And they brought in Miss Marvel and all that. Get that animation team behind a Rom the Space Knight. That's the look I want to have, because when they did their thing where they brought in Captain Marvel at the time, and they brought in the Kree, and they redid their outfits, and their outfits look really nice. And when they did the whole Miss Marvel origin, and they brought in Sword in that series, I liked how they drew things in that series. So that's the art style I'd like to even see Rom done in. That's how far deep I'm in it. So those artists behind it with that same team. You reunite them, let them do that project, and then bring in Rom, get my boy, to come in there. That's how I see Rom the Space Knight.
That would look good. That was good. I wasn't even thinking to the aspect of who would, do producing and stuff like that. But now I'm looking at this, definitely as a cartoon. Yeah, that was definitely, that's a good image. That's a good look. That was a good look. I forgot how good that look was.
That's what I'm saying.
I forgot how good that look was.
That was a good look. That team, from Earth's Mightiest Heroes, how they drew them. I really liked their take on it. So that's the team I want to see behind it. For Rom the Space Knight. And I think they could have a lot of fun with it. It would give a good, nice, clean lines, sharpness to the character, update the armor a little bit, but still keep the original look. Don't get too far away from it. Get Roger to do the voice. So that's who I'm going with.
Okay. I like it. Looks good.
Thank you very much.
All right. I think we both got some good ones. But everyone, yeah, definitely. Listen, as Barry's about to say, we appreciate you guys being here. Just love you guys. Just to make sure you hit the like, subscribe, share, let everybody know what we got going on. Our page is growing nicely, and we just, we appreciate all the love and support you guys are offering. And as Barry was saying, listen, put something or I would never say, put something in the basement. Comment. Put something in there. Put something in the box.
Please, write something in the box. Every click helps us. Every comment, we always reply to them. And then on top of it, wherever you listen to your podcast, please rate and review our podcast. This helps us. So I know right now we're on Good Pods, and we've got up to the number 2 spot in visual arts for a podcast. We're number 2 on one list and number 24 of another list. So both of those lists are out of 100. So number 2 out of 100, wow. And number 24 out of 100, still wow. And those are on Good Pods. So please like, subscribe, share. Find us wherever you find your podcast and rate us. And, each click, helps us so much. And I can't stress that enough. And if you ever want to donate to the channel, remember, we have a link so you can just do a one-time donation. We have our Patreon page that we have exclusive content on there. We've got, sweaters and hoodies you can buy and purchase to help us support the channel. So, check out our Redbubble store. We're on a Patreon page. We got coffee. You can do a one-time tip. And that's it. You see the links below. Just keep supporting us, and we are going to keep out there doing our stuff for you because we enjoy it.
There you go.
Right on. And on that note, on behalf of me, Barry 3D, my cousin,
Rod C.
This whole world was put together by what?
A piece of
pencil, a piece of paper,
and
lots of imagination. Keep on dreaming.
Neutralize, analyze, neutralize. This is what we do.
This is how we do. Okay, I'm not going to sing.
Okay.
I'm going to go and see if I can pull a sword out of stone and become a king of a land.
No, just give me a wing of the castle. That's all I'm asking for.
Done deal.
Don't come by after 9 o'clock. I'm experienced this. I'm
holding
becoming my
Black
Merlin.
Knight.
Listen, I'm becoming my Merlin, my version of Merlin.
Oh, jeez. Have a good one, everyone. We're out.
Later.